Hi, it's Miles Red Michelle Birdsong, Eve, mother of all living, Angel Michelle, daughter of the sun. I'm making this video to warn you that there is a young Charles Manson grown up in the environment of paradise. You're looking at pictures of part of the story. The story began in Clarksville, Tennessee. She was raised with parents who did not allow questions and who did not provide an outlet for her energy. And so she became very bored and sought ways to relieve her boredom. Now, when she grew up, this became very dangerous because it meant driving fast cars, hanging around with dangerous people. So at 16, she decided, Cinderella decided, Prince Charming isn't coming to rescue me. I've seen fake Prince Charmings, but the real one didn't show up, so I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. And she left Tennessee before she killed herself looking for excitement. She was so bored. And went to Chicago. In Chicago, she finished her education by passing the GED, a test her mother had taken earlier when it first came out. Her mother was very smart. She was valedictorian of her class. And Minnow got a job as a service representative, which is a receptionist. She went to night school, learned shorthand, and got a promotion within the organization, the Chicago Area Council of the Boy Scouts of America, and got a promotion to executive secretary once she learned her shorthand. Then her supervisor, Julia K. Bartosh, and her the Scout Executive's secretary, the second most important man in the organization, talked to her every day and said, "You're too good for this job. You need to become an airline stewardess." Julia Bartosh, her supervisor, had been an employee of Eastern Airlines. And so eventually, Minnow, T. Michelle Birdsong now is her name, listened to Julia and Ellen and got a job as one of the first black airline stewardesses. She was a light-skinned black, first black airline stewardesses to work for a national airline. And I had a picture. Where's that picture? The picture is underneath these pictures. So let's find the picture. Okay. Where are you, picture? You're still underneath? There you are, you see? You make a little extra effort and you get what you want. This is a picture of T. Michelle Birdsong, one of the first black airline stewardesses. Like I said, she's light-skinned black. She's standing in the doorway of an American Airlines 727 jet. And in New York, she was based in New York. She, I dropped one of the pictures. She, dropped two of the pictures. I'm gonna get it for you in a minute. She became acquainted with Edwin Birdsong, who introduced her to all the jazz greats that came to New York. He didn't know them, but he made acquaintance with them and introduced her to them. And he was a student at Juilliard School of Music, and he wrote songs. She listened to a song and said, "You need a recording contract." He listened to her and got his attorney to get him a recording contract with Polydor Records. Then he, having been Bach, needed a lyricist. So she started writing words. Turned out she had being as Shakespeare and Charles Dickens and Robert Frost, Mark Twain, etc. And her words were great. Okay, so then what happened? His producer at Polydor, Ted Cooper, used her words. Edwin Birdsong put music to her words. And they had an album, a masterpiece album. And Stevie Wonder heard it, called them to come to his apartment in Queens, and they became fast friends, and they stayed friends for 45 years until Edwin died in 2019, I believe it was. And then Tim Michelle had to find something else to do. They were divorced anyway, and she decided she wanted to write a Broadway musical. She offered the opportunity to Edwin, and his pride wouldn't let him admit that he needed Tim Michelle to go to the next level of his life, because he had succeeded to an extent. He had a fancy house in the suburbs, fancy cars, a young girl living with him, and a studio in downtown Los Angeles, money coming in from royalties. But see, he didn't share his bounty with Tim Michelle. But she didn't hold it against him. She was willing to give him another lease on life and write a Broadway play with him. And that would lift her and her family out of poverty and lift him to the next level. But he wouldn't do it. So being unable to get an erection or to have a normal sexual relationship with his girlfriend any longer, he kept having a stroke every time he made love to her. So she died, body riddled with cancer. Then he died. But she had told him, she had asked him, "Are you going to stay with me past death?" And he said no. But she opened up his mind to reincarnation and living past death. So when he died, sure enough, he was still in contact with her, with Tim Michelle Birdsong. And he told her, "I didn't give you credit. Now you take your credit. You show them the power you had to affect lives." And one of the lives she affected was Stevie Wonder. One day, she and Edwin were in Johanna Magoda's office, an attorney, the attorney that eventually got Edwin his recording contract for What It Is, the album on Polydor Records. And Magoda said he had been contacted by Stevie Wonder's people, and they wanted him to represent Stevie. And this was in 1968, 69, 70, when Stevie Wonder was little Stevie Wonder. And did they think, asked Magoda, that little Stevie Wonder could cross over and become a pop star Edwin is a fan of jazz. He didn't know Stevie Wonder's work, even though he was famous for his hit Fingertips. And T. Michelle Birdsong was a fan of Stevie Wonder, so she said, of course he can cross over. You kidding me? He's a musical genius. He could be a pop star, he could be a jazz star, he could be any kind of star he wants to be. So Vigoda believed her because she and Vigoda had been married in a parallel life. And he still trusted her as he did when she was his wife. And he took Stevie on and got Steve $13 million advance from Motown Records, an unheard of amount of money at that time for an artist. Even Tony Bennett didn't command that kind of money, and he was the biggest star there was. And then he got Stevie a tour with the Rolling Stones, a very big pop group from England. And that got Stevie Wonder before 500,000 people, 500,000 people. And they were Rolling Stone fans, and they became Stevie Wonder fans. And Stevie Wonder was all of a sudden a pop star. All because Michelle praised Vigoda, and Vigoda made the deals to put Stevie in the position of performing for a lot of people. And God had given Stevie the talent. Okay, so that's where we leave it. And then after Edwin and Michelle's album came out and Stevie heard it, he didn't know, I don't know if he knew that T. Michelle was responsible for his success. But he did hear the album, What It Is, and he said of it, what it is oh so new. What it is oh so true. I just called to say, I love you. That's what he sang. He sang a review of What It Is on his song, I Just Called to Say I Love You. And he let Edwin live in his Gramercy Park townhouse for 30 years without paying rent. And he took Edwin everywhere he went, to the Academy Awards, to the Grammys, to the parties in Beverly Hills. Wherever he went, Edwin went. So, but he didn't understand, because Michelle talked to Stevie on the phone, and he said, why didn't Edwin make another What It Is? He didn't understand that Edwin had dropped her, his source of inspiration, his source of lyrics, of song stories, of ideas, of images, because she braided his hair. And the braiding took off in the black community, where black people all over the world started braiding, started plaiting their hair, adding extensions. It became the trend. So Edwin didn't understand, or maybe he did understand, Stevie didn't understand that Edwin's success